Not everything in New World is obvious. There are plenty bits of hidden information, some of which ends up being fairly minor, but some ends up being kind of important. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to my 13 things you might not have known about New World video. My name is CodeYo. I make survival, crafting, and MMO content. Let's play a little game. If you learned something new, drop a sub. If you finished the video and you knew everything already, well, stop lying, and then drop a sub. Let's get into it. Did you know that normally walking off a cliff stops your forward movement at the bottom? But if you jump off the cliff, you'll do a roll instead and keep moving. This can actually be pretty useful in PvP or if you're just racing people to harvest some of those goodies. Did you know that you can cast abilities while prone, and that some abilities will actually keep you prone? I haven't tested this with every ability in the game myself since I don't have everything maxed, but I can tell you that things such as the musket loaded shots keep you prone during the entire animation. And because your nameplate is hidden while prone, this adds a massive level of depth to open world PvP. Did you know that passives and buffs do not transfer over when you swap weapons? I'm sure a lot of people already knew this one or figured it out, but there's definitely a lot of people who are throwing in builds trying to make those passives work for the other trees, and they just don't transfer at the moment. You can see that when you swap your weapons, all your buffs that were relevant to that tree instantly go away. That being said, spells do still persist. Things such as Firestorm, Ice Storm, some Life Staff AoE abilities, those will stay on the ground. But, on that note, did you know that Ice Storm will actually no longer persist if you take the Punishing Storm perk on top of it? It's most likely a bug, but it's good to know if you're trying out your build right now. If you pick Punishing Storm, which is very helpful, increases the damage by quite a bit for AoE, it will remove the ability for this to persist through weapon swapping. So it's good to keep that in mind. Did you know that the color of your damage and the icon next to it tell you a lot of information? It will tell you the damage type you're dealing and how effective it is. If the color is blue, they're taking reduced damage. If it's white, they're neutral to it. If it's yellow, they're taking increased damage. And if it's orange, it's a critical hit. Now the icon itself represents the actual type of damage you're dealing. If you hover over the weapon, you can see what its type is and what its icon will look like. In addition to this, there is an arrow that may show up above or below the damage type icon. Above means increased damage received, below means decreased. This is actually really helpful in case you land a crit and the color is orange. You can still see how effective the damage type was. This is pretty important to know so that you can properly make your builds and understand if the weapon you're using sucks or if you're just using it against the wrong kind of people. Did you know that there are actually two tiers of heavy attacks? These are called heavy attack and charged heavy. And not every weapon that has a heavy attack has both. You can check these for yourself by clicking on the weapon mastery page and hovering over a weapon. But here's the breakdown. Weapons that have light, heavy, and heavy charged attack are the sword and shield, the spear, the great axe, hatchet, and warhammer. The weapons that only have light and heavy attacks are the bow, fire staff, rapier, life staff, and ice gauntlet. And then there's one weapon that only has a regular light attack and that's it, and that's the musket. The charged heavy attacks do more damage, but also take longer to charge, so knowing this will help your rotation and timing a lot to help you maximize your damage output or to help you reduce your animation time. I'm working on a full guide to go over the more intricate details of this, and we'll have it linked in the description below once it's ready. Now with that said, did you know that the sword and shield is the only weapon that can do 2 damage types without modifiers? Its light attack combo uses slash damage, and its heavy attack, both tier 1 and tier 2, use thrust damage. Slapping a gem on this can allow you to do 3 damage types from a single weapon, which is pretty massive. It makes the weapon very, very versatile. Now here's one that most people know by now, but I keep seeing people doing it wrong, so I'm gonna keep mentioning it, and that is, did you know that wearing a shield does nothing for you other than adding to your weight if you don't have a sword equipped? All of the stats listed, armor, elemental resistance, strength, constitution, anything that it's got there, they don't apply unless you have a sword equipped and it's actually your weapon that's out, your active weapon. If you watch your stats while you unequip and re-equip the shield, you can see that nothing changes. Did you know that gear drops and gear score are related? It's something being referred to as the watermark system or your watermark gear score. The higher your gear score per slot, the higher your chance to loot something rarer of that slot. It's not dependent on what's currently equipped, but instead the highest gear score of that slot you've ever had in your inventory, even without equipping it. So this means that you want to keep your gear score as high as you can continuously get it to make sure that you are increasing your chance of getting better gear. But keep in mind you don't actually have to equip the item. I'll link some videos below that go into this topic a bit more thoroughly. Did you know that luck doesn't just increase your chance of getting a rare resource, but that you actually need a certain amount of luck to even be able to get that resource? What I mean is, you legitimately cannot gather rare materials without a specific minimum of luck stat. It works in tiers, and the higher you increase your luck, the more resources you sort of unlock, and then you can continue to increase your chance of getting them. This is why nobody could find items like Fey Iron right away at launch, because it was kind of impossible. This is something that's still being tested quite a bit, so we don't know the exact numbers, but I'll keep updated links in the description. Did you know that you can decrease your aggro range by crouching? Now, most people know that your level affects this radius, depending on the level difference between you and the mob. But in addition to that, you can also crouch to lower this radius, and you can use this to sneak up and harvest something that's kind of close to an enemy. Did you know that the medium encumbrance has the cheapest roll? Both light equipment load and heavy equipment load take 50 stamina per dodge or per roll, but medium only uses 40. This means you can double dodge without forcing your stamina into a gray bar. It also means that you can more consistently proc certain passives, such as 10 mana regen on dodge if you have the 200 intelligence perk, or the haste buff from dodging in the musketry, and various other things proc by dodges. Did you know that leveling a trade skill gives you character experience, and that this is a preset static amount depending on what skill and what level that skill is? Meaning it doesn't scale with player level, instead it increases the higher the trade skill level is, and also not every trade skill gives the same rate, so some are much better for character experience than others. So for example, a level 10 player will get just as much character experience for, say, leveling cooking from 1 to 100 as a level 50 would, the exact same number of experience. The value of experience makes a much larger impact on a low level player, whereas a level 50 would hardly budge a bar. This is why leveling a quick and cheap trade skill early is actually a very, very effective way to grab a few early levels. And last but not least, did you know that the corruption used bison as ammo? Because I sure as hell didn't.
20 minutes left, right?
What the fuck? Is that a bison? What? Did you see that?
That's sweet.
They're shooting bison!
Oh my god.
So, did you know everything? Thank you guys for watching. If you learned something or liked what you saw, please do slap some love on that subscribe button, click that bell for notifications, and check out my other content. We broke 100 subs, and I'm grateful for each one of you guys. Thanks again, and as always, peace.